Swamiji wrote a song called Rama and Sita, and we'll listen to it now. And again, going along with our theme of Ram Navami.
Rama was a ruler's son long ago, long ago. Sita was his wife so fair, truly she his life did share, though much suffering she won long ago, long ago. Rama Sita Ram. Rama's father banished him far from home, far from home. All alone the woods to roam, Sita gladly shared his doom. Thus his sorrow soon grew deep, far from home, far from home. Rama Sita Ram. Homeless wanderers were they many years, many years, raised in silk, in marble halls. Now they slept by waterfalls, for their bed they gathered hay, many years, many years. Rama Sita Ram. One day came an evil man, woe the hour, woe the hour. Stole Ram's wife while Ram was gone, carried her to his own home. Thus her soul's dark night began, woe the hour, woe the hour. Rama Sita Ram. True was she, though sorely pressed, Rama's wife, Rama's wife. Long she spurned the stranger's pleas, harsh she called his life of ease. Only tested love is blessed, Rama's wife, Rama's wife. Rama Sita Ram. Ram at last did win her back, sorrows fled, sorrows fled. Soon they to their palace went, ended now Ram's banishment, ended all their years of lack, sorrows fled, sorrows fled. Rama Sita Ram. But for Ram and Sita true, long ago, long ago, Love was all their riches still. Palace gold could never fill hearts that heaven's laughter knew. Long ago, long ago. Rama Sita
I'd like to do a reading now from Rays of the One Light. These are weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad-Gita, and this reading isn't for this specific week of the year, but corresponds to our subject, or our celebration of Navami. And this is the mystery of Avatara, or divine incarnation. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. The Bhagavad-Gita in the 4th chapter states, O Bharata, whenever virtue declines and vice predominates, I incarnate on earth. Taking visible form, I come to destroy evil and re-establish virtue. What is the mystery of this divine manifestation? Great avatars such as Krishna and Jesus Christ are born as babies, even as we all are. They take human form and go through normal human experiences as they grow from childhood to adulthood. They eat, they play, they may seem to suffer sickness and disappointment just like the rest of us. In what way are they different from other human beings? The important thing to understand is that even as they are like us, so are we also like them. Their realization can be ours too. They come on earth to show us our own divine potential. The difference lies not in the manner of their manifestation on earth, but in the consciousness with which they are born. All things are condensations, so to speak, of the cosmic vibration, Om, described by St. John's Gospel as the Word. Most human beings, however, are unconscious of their divine origin. The avatars, on the other hand, come consciously as manifestations of that divine reality. As the Gospel says in the Bible, 1st chapter, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, as the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om. I wanted to read, excuse me, I have some kind of allergy thing going on, and it's affecting my voice a little bit. I wanted to read what Swamiji wrote about that song, Rama and Sita, which he wrote many years ago. It was one of the first songs he wrote out of over 400. This was like song number 9 or something like that. He wrote in the 1960s. But even at the last album of music he recorded, I think it was the last, or else it must have been the last. Yeah, I've Passed My Life as a Stranger. It was a collection of his songs that he recorded when he came to India in 2003, and really wanted to see that whether the music here, the people here would be interested or attracted to the music. And he found that they were very enthusiastic and very much enjoyed the music, and he recorded this album, and he wrote little notes about each song when he recorded the album, and this is what he wrote for this song, which he recorded for that album too. I've related in this song, very briefly, the ever-inspiring lives of Rama and Sita, their one-pointed devotion to truth, and to the truth they realized in one another. The song is based on the great epic, the Ramayana. I had to leave out of this song the sad ending of their story, essential though it is to the epic's integrity. Indeed, folkloric tradition, which ends so many stories reassuringly with the words, "and they lived happily ever after," is not true to life, and would not be acceptable in a work purporting to represent the truth. In such a brief song, however, that impersonal view of reality must be left to philosophical teaching. Suffice it here to convey the deep love on which the lives of those two great souls were based. Their love was eternal. It could never be contradicted by the shadows and light of this world of Maya. I mention that because there is such joy with the thought of an avatar coming to earth, of that, again, that divine inspiration coming, let's just say, first of all, to the earth. But a lot of other thoughts can sort of come into that. For example, when Krishna says, whenever virtue declines and vice or evil rises, then I incarnate myself on earth. And sometimes we can be tempted to sort of say, okay, ninga enge. Now seems like a good time, Vanga. Or we can say, oh, too bad. He was here and I missed him. If only I could have been seated next to Arjuna on some kusha grass or something, I could have been there too. And here I am, and it's 2022, and I'm late. But that isn't the only meaning, because it's not just at certain historical times on earth, which is true. It certainly is true. It generally has to do with the transition of the yugas, or the depths of the yugas. When, like for example, even I guess the transition from descending Kali to ascending Kali is still a transition. The avatars often come at those times because they're helping to shift the earth into a direction that it's needing to go in. And so this is, again, as Swamiji said, the discourse right now is a little too short for me to get into all of that, but suffice it to say it's a fascinating subject, and you might be able to sense my fascination and my restraint in not wanting to just launch into Kali Yuga and now Manu and the correct, it's actually Dwapar. All right, I'll practice self-control. But the thing is that we... those are real. Those are historical events. There's no question. At least the masters don't have any question about it. Even if the dates are not completely, we're not all agreed upon the dates, who cares? There were dates. They did come. But that was not something that happened long ago that we missed out on. First of all, we may have been there long ago. Who knows? If ever you feel like, a yearning, maybe it's because you remember being there and you wish to go back to it. Again, why should you feel that way? Somebody can hear about some ancient history thousands of years ago and say, Abadiya, pass the idli. Who cares? But if you feel, like just this yearning, maybe there's a reason for that. But furthermore, it is always a reminder that God is born in each of our lives. God comes to us at a certain time in each of our lives. And just like Krishna descending, Rama descending, Yoganandaji being born, Jesus Christ being born, they are also born in our lives in whatever form that attracts you. That's why there are so many options. It's not just one that everybody has to like. Like the one that you like naturally. Follow that one, but follow. Because the masters come to help not just the earth generally at those specific times, but also to help those who are seeking truth, those who are seeking God. When someone reaches towards God, then God reaches back. And in our own lives, it often takes the form of a guru. But even before that, when you whatever your first experience was of, as I was saying earlier, of some touch of the divine or some interest of the divine, I remember for me, I was against religion, God, everything, because whatever I had been exposed to, I found unattractive. I just thought, Ada Vendam, and that was the only thing going. So I just said, forget it all. I didn't see anything that appealed to me. And then when I first, I basically had to be brought to my knees first by suffering, which happened. And then I had to decide that, well, I must be missing some variable. I was very mathematical back then. And I just thought, okay, looking at this scenario, I must have not accounted for all the variables because I didn't see the metaphorical fist coming to hit me in the side of the face. And so I didn't see it, so I was blind. So something I'm missing. There's some uncorrelated factor here. And then a friend said to me that when I said the ultimate sort of thing in life is love, and she said, well, what does that love mean to you? And I described it to her. She said, what you're speaking of is divine love, not human love. That kind of love you'll never find on earth because people go up and down. Don't we go up and down? I mean, we can snap at somebody just because we have a headache, someone dear to us who we would never mean to, but because of this circumstance, this pain, we just, stop it. And is that kind? Is that the way we would like to behave? No, but, we fall prey to it. Better not to. Good to just go, Orimcha, and try to at least hold it in, because we do more damage to those who are dear to us than we would do. You come to any stranger and just say, be quiet. He'll say, you be quiet. And then you can smile and walk on, and that's it. But to those in our own home, we can be sometimes less considerate of and do much more harm to because of that openness. So again, if we're on the receiving end, think about when we're on the giving end and try to work on that part. And then when someone else is sharp with us, we can say, well, Divine Mother, I know they're in pain. I know they don't mean it that way. Or if we feel hurt, take the grief to Divine Mother. She always understands. She's never sharp. So anyway, the feeling then that God is coming into our lives to help us, whatever that first moment is, that is Ram Navami for you. That is Krishna Jayanti for you. That this was that first thing, that first flicker that made me think, And that's what it was for me. When she said it's divine love, I thought, because I don't really like that word divine. Yet, I have to admit that I had missed something in my reckoning. And maybe, centuries, millennia of civilizations who I had observed had all had some kind of form of religion and belief in a higher power. Maybe they knew something that this, 20-year-old, wise as I was, not at all, but when you're 20 you think you're wise, maybe there was something I missed. And so I became open to this. And that same week someone gave me Autobiography of a Yogi, or introduced me to it. And I read that, and again, that was my Ram Navami. Because it was the first time I was just barely open enough to receive any kind of thought that wasn't just my own thoughts. That's mostly what I was open to, myself. It's sort of the classic ego syndrome. And so the output was tied to the input, and it was just, I was very content with myself. But I tell you, it was not that fun to talk to me. Or, anyway, we all grow, hopefully, slightly over the years. But the thing is that when we have that craving for, well, where is God now? Why can't God incarnate now, or at least incarnate in my house? Well, He is. She is in you, and also in your family members too. And so turn it to the positive of seeing how that even from this moment we can resolve to invite God more into our lives, to have more of that divine consciousness. The main secret, or the major ingredient to having more of that is to want it. It's really that simple, just to want it. Even if you don't want it, say, I want to want it. Just because when you have that divine flow, as you often feel after meditation, everything goes well. And when we don't, it just feels like we're slogging through mud or sort of fighting through, trying to tear our way through concrete. Everything seems to just not go right. And if we have a good meditation, say in the morning or the evening before, we notice there's just sort of a synchronicity, a sort of a connect, a flow, a harmony where things just seem to work out, even with no effort at all. And or in the moment of crisis, suddenly an idea comes to us and we try it out and it works. I had this experience recently negotiating with an Amazon guy, delivery man, who couldn't understand why I wasn't just at home waiting for him to come. And which I can understand from his perspective. It's hot. But anyway, we entered into negotiations and it all worked out well in the end. But still, I was seeing it from his point of view. He was saying it's too hot to go and come back again. So I was trying to think of how we could work this out because there was no one at home to receive it. So anyway, it worked out. But the thing we also want to look at is that, again, the divine incarnations do not come to show how great they are so we can all bow. I mean, we should all bow, but that's not why they come. They come, as Swamiji writes here, to show us what we can become. Imagine a math teacher who's teaching trigonometry and you walk into class, and on the first day he writes some nice trigonometric equality and says, pretty impressive. Bet you don't even know what it means. I do. And that's the class. And then the next day he says something, sine squared, huh? Okay. Cosine squared? I know it. And then leaves you to it. I mean, what kind of teacher is that? His purpose is not to show off, or her purpose is not to show off their knowledge. It's to impart. It's to share. It's to say, look, you too can figure this out. It isn't so difficult. It's triangles. It's reasonable. And so that we would all think it ridiculous if that's all the teacher was coming for, and the masters are the same. And more than that, because they're not imparting information or even imparting power, they're drawing what we have already out of us. It's sort of like a gardener, to mix the metaphor. They're helping what's already there to grow. And that's the best part. They're not changing us except into who we really are. And they're saying, you are like I am. And in fact, as Master points out, they said all of the great masters were once souls like us before they were awakened. It's a whole story of how the soul becomes Jivan Mukta and then Param Mukta and then Avatar, which again, though tempted, I will not digress into. Speaking of, this ties into the theme also of, very, very specifically for many of us, of the guru-disciple relationship. Because the guru is also that, you could say, divine incarnation for us personally. Our guru comes to free us from delusion. Our guru comes into our lives specifically to teach us, for example, meditation techniques, Kriya Yoga. Yoganandaji has come for that. But above all, our guru comes to save us, and us, each one of us specifically. Not just sort of, Master Yogananda comes by with a Chennai bus, and says, all aboard, anyone want to come? And heading to Hiranyaloka, and then goes off. And whoever gets on, it's not that way. I mean, if Vani is late, the bus waits. And we're all sitting there, and Master says, no, Aurum Shabani's coming. And that's it. And her name is on the seat, And when Bala tries to sit there, he says, no, your seat is there, Bala. This is Bani. It's for you, each of us. You see? Or maybe he'll take everybody and then he'll come back. Because he does that. And so that whether we are open to him or not, he does. But remember, he does it according to our level of openness. And I say this especially for those of you who are taking discipleship today. Keep that in mind. Because he gives as much as we are wanting, like I said before. Master was shaking hands with people after the satsang. This was something he did as a way of offering blessings to people. And very sweetly he said, you hear a recording of this, he said, as though my time is very limited, I'm very happy to shake hands with you and give you the blessing of God the Father, so that I may also feel God the Father blessing me through you. He always saw it as an exchange. In fact, it has to be an exchange to be real. If someone just says, look, I'm here, you fill me up, I take. Like a baby bird, just like that, or a baby human, anyway, or even an adult human sometimes. It doesn't work that way. We have to, at the very least, give gratitude. In fact, that's, you could say, the very most. But when we express that gratitude and that love, we're able to receive more. But Master would shake hands with people, and so he was shaking hands with people after the satsang, greeting everybody as they went out. It was also easier in America in those early years than doing an arati and a blessing. It might be a bit much for them, so this shaking hands. But there was one man who came and put out his hand like this, and or just put out like 2 fingers to shake Master's hand. And Master put out 2 fingers. And that's all he gave. And it wasn't a punishment, and it wasn't as if, oh, I see, well then, if that's how you are, that's how I am. It wasn't that. It was just, if this is all you want, this is all you get. But he has so much more to give us. So when we feel sometimes like, oh, I'm all alone in my suffering, or I am the one who has to solve this problem, or why is life so custom, then just remember that to Master we may just be going, because if he says, look, just give me both hands, I'll take them, I'll help you. If nothing else, he'll comfort us, which is actually quite a lot. Because sometimes when we are deeply in tune, the circumstances don't change at all. They're just as kashtam or double kashtam. But we change, and we say, it's okay, I can manage. Or we think of someone we know who's having a much harder time, and we say, look, we all have problems, and so these are the problems I've had, and when I see the array of what's on the menu, I'm happy with what I got. I'll deal with this. I won't complain. Or if we complain to God. In other words, you don't have to be fake about it. This is fine. I accept it peacefully with joy. You can say, Mother, it's unfair. I said that to a friend of mine recently. She was saying, I went through this experience and I think I'm okay. I think it's fine. I feel sort of worn out and tired, but I think it's all right. It was mean. There was some things that were stolen from her home. And then I said to her, it's okay, though, to just be upset about it, in the sense that it's just a mean thing to have happen, that somebody just came and took your things, didn't care that now you don't have those things. I want them, I'm taking them. And they broke into the house, they damaged things, they took everything and left. And she wasn't at home. It was a second house that she was away from. And she was touched by that, because she said, it is mean, and I have been feeling that, and I haven't really, allowed myself to feel that hurt, but it's just a nasty, unkind thing to do, and it's okay to take that to Divine Mother and say, why? Why did that have to happen? We don't have the answer yet. Maybe there'll be some happy ending. Maybe it's just karma to pay. But we don't have to fake it. We don't want to, because it doesn't help. Now, speaking of the guru and the disciple, of course, one of the things that comes to mind with the guru and the disciple and Rama is also Hanuman. And I wanted to share with you, because being Ram Navami, I was thinking of what are the different things that Swamiji shared about Rama and Sita and Hanuman. There was a time where he was invited to give just a very brief opening address, because due to some lectures happening at the Chinmayananda mission in Delhi, Swami Nikhilananda, who was heading that up, was a great friend and admirer of Swami Kriyanandaji, and so he asked him to please come and just, open the. It was going to be a whole sort of month of discourses, but so Swamiji came, and this was in 2007, meaning he'd been in India for about 4 years, and so it's a very brief talk, but I thought it might be fun for various reasons to see it. So. Prem, you could aim the camera at the TV if you want. That might help those people online.
The lighting of the lamp is a ritual that is followed in all our yajnas. It signifies the removal of darkness and the bringing in of light.
Swamiji, would you prefer to sit and speak?
I beg your pardon?
Would you prefer to sit and speak?
No, it's fine, thank you. I am very pleased to be here, a little embarrassed to hear praise given to myself, but I believe that there is something that perhaps all that you have heard leads up to. We always tend to praise people who do things. The important thing of Hanuman's life is that it shows us, and this is what we should always do, instead of thinking about what other people have done, think, what can it mean for me? What we have seen, for example, in the story of Hanuman, is that he, by taking the name of Rama, was able to accomplish even more than Rama. The disciple must understand that he can do much more as an instrument of his guru than he could otherwise. In my case, this was strikingly true, because I wanted to be a playwright, but I realized that I could not write plays because I didn't know the truth. And I thought, why should I flood the world with my ignorance? I gave up writing, I gave up all those ambitions, and that was when I found my guru. But I have discovered, and this is what I want to make everybody understand, that as long as we don't work from the ego, as long as we work with the thought of being a channel and trying to channel the truth and God's grace, and in my case I have been fortunate to meet a great guru who was able to fill me with his consciousness and to give me the strength and the understanding to do everything that I have done. And I have to say that that is not false humility, it's simply fact. I could not have done anything without his power. But indeed, the job on the spiritual path is to overcome the ego, to overcome the thought of this little separate person. God is center everywhere, circumference nowhere. He created each one of us from the inside out, and we all must overcome this little thought that the God in me is separate from the God in you. We must get rid of this ego if we would understand who we really are. This is the purpose of all scripture. This is the purpose of this is the great lesson in the life of Hanuman, that he himself was just a monkey. I'm just a fool. But look what he could do. And God can do so many things through each one of you if you will let him. We must understand that we have to work with him. It isn't that he does it, we have to do it, but we have to draw on his strength, his inspiration. And I have seen this happen again and again in my life. When I knew I couldn't, but then I would say to my guru inwardly, but you can do anything. And I would find suddenly I had the strength, the understanding, the wisdom to do everything that I had to do. I can say in all truthfulness, it isn't my work, it is his. This is the supreme lesson of the life of Hanuman. And I hope and pray that all of you will take it very personally, that you will change your lives as a result of the classes that you will be receiving here. God bless you.
Swamiji, thank you for your words of wisdom and guidance. You are the Hanuman to your Guru as Hanumanji was to Sri Ram. Thank you, Swamiji, for blessing us with your presence.
I apologize for any of the camera work on that. The blame goes no further than myself. I was the one filming it. And I had just a digital camera. I mean, this is back in the day, so I just had a digital camera which I sent to movie mode and was trying to hold my arm still, but you saw zoomed all the way in because it was this huge lawn, this huge grassy area where everybody was all gathered for in this evening. And my thought at the time was to try to, this was such a short moment, but to try to capture it for the people back in America, because it was very painful for people to have Swamiji in India and just, but just hearing a little, one sentence about it. Swamiji spoke at the Chinmaya Nanda mission. And so I tried to record it in an effort to send things to them so that they could, because I had been in America before hearing such things and not ever getting any recordings of it. So when Swamiji asked Armenia and me to come to India, to Gorgon, one of the first things I tried to do was record everything and send it over. It was already, other people were recording other things as well, but I was trying to get even these kinds of things. Now it's interesting because it's not just a distance in space, but in time. And so what I hadn't figured is how these things over time become even more precious, because they carry a power with them of Swamiji's presence, just like that. And at the time that he was speaking those words, I didn't really take it in the way I take it in now, because as naturally as he would speak of being a channel for Master, we as Master's disciples will also think of being of channels for Master, but also I felt great inspiration in feeling Master through Swamiji, because after all, it was through Swami Kriyananda that Master came to me. And that any of these things I had learned or experienced, and anything he said about Master I also saw in him, which he was quick to deny. But the thing is, now I can see the temptation to just sit back and say, well, the Guru is there, the Guru is working, it's his work, he's doing it, and basically I come and just to be filled up, or I might sort of do some little tiny thing, but he is there, he's doing all the work. There's sort of like the dad or the mom is doing things, and I'm just the kid who doesn't have to worry. And at the time with Swamiji in the body, I very much thought that, even unconsciously. Even as he was saying that, I'm aware now of how I didn't see the deeper implication, which is obvious now, that he's not in the body, of how each one of us can help to bring these truths that have helped us so much to other people who are interested, to other people who are open. No reason to bother somebody who isn't. Give them time or let them be. But to also not hold back entirely out of shyness or whatever. You can always give Autobiography of a Yogi to another person. If you've read it, if you've enjoyed it, you can recommend it. You can give it. Master said, you can preach through autobiography, give it to others. So not literally preach, But if nothing else, you can give it to someone as a birthday present, as a surprise gift. You can wrap it so they won't know. You can sneak it in. And maybe it will help them. Or maybe it will be like so many people have told us about Autobiography of a Yogi. Yes, 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 my uncle had this book. For years I saw it on my uncle's shelf. And then one day, in one case, the person said that it fell off the shelf and hit them on the head. And so they thought, I better read this. So another man, it's a strange story, but he said he wanted to read the book, but he wasn't attracted to the face on the cover. How that's possible, I don't know. But anyway, there's no accounting for taste. He didn't like the face. Then later, somebody gave him a book, and it had no cover. You can guess where the story's going. He read the book, and he loved the book. Then about halfway through, he figured out suddenly what was going on. Master said, you don't like the face? Fine, no face. Here, go ahead. Is this better? So anyway, as much as we are eager for help, the Masters and our Guru is 10 times as eager to help us. So that's really what it means to accept the blessing into our lives. As I said, the key ingredient is to want it. That's the main thing we have to cultivate. And we want it also by experiencing it. You know, if someone tells you that Zabagabaga tastes good, you would say, well, Zabaga what? You know, what are you talking about? But if someone says, actually, that's my secret word for Mysore pak, you say, Enge, Ipova? Why? Because of the memory of the last Mysore pak. Like my cousin who likes to reduce, so she cuts the Mysore pak in half and has just that half and then also the other half. So you can't help it. But because you know it was good, you want it again. And so that's why I say experiencing, for example, satsang, chanting, diving in, tasting it, that makes us want it more. So remember that too. As one person told me in one of our classes, it was sort of a mixed kind of positive review. She said, I decided not to come because I did not want to come. And yet something made me to come. And I was proud of her. She's a dear friend now. But she, there was just some part unconsciously that drove her to get in the auto rickshaw. I was wanting to tell everybody, there's this new app that allows you to, through Zoom app you have, and through Zoom you can watch all these things. But there's another app that allows you to pass through the Zoom and come into the room, and it's called Uber. And so if you just, click on that, you can be in the movie. You could be right here in the room, in the temple. So, and thank you all for coming. Yeah, I was saving that one for Sai Ram. I was hoping. I forgot. See, I often can keep a straight face, but if Sai Ram is in the audience, his joy is so over bubbling that it gets me too. So, on that note, we will, let's just take a moment we're going to have a discipleship initiation now. So let's just meditate for a moment just to get centered. Those of you who have already taken the discipleship vow, you can pray for the new disciples. Those of you who haven't taken it, you can also pray for these people taking this next step in their spiritual lives. Let's just meditate a moment, and also for those taking the vow, if you could collect your offerings so you have them ready. And so we'll start the ceremony in just a moment.